after this, I'll be sending out my Yelp review. That being said, now we are here for the main events. Everyone give it up for California State Treasurer. I'm so grateful to have you involved in this conversation. Everyone also give it up to Cassandra McClure. Everyone also give it up for Shockley. And lastly, the leader of her society, as well as an amazing model, Liz Laney. And with that, I will give it to Cassandra to lead this fireside chat. Thank you so much for participating.
I've never wanted to lead something like that. That was amazing. Well, thank you all for coming and having us here. I'm excited to dive into the conversation. I really am going to moderate, and I know we all have a lot to contribute. Just if you, I guess we're all going to introduce ourselves, right? So I am Cassandra McClure. We have a Clean Living agency. We do have a podcast that's been around since 2018. It's called Clean Living. If you want to check it out on any major podcast platform. And then our magazine is also Clean Living. It's up here in the front. If you want to switch chairs and grab a copy, you definitely can. I think it also helps to fill these chairs for content, so come on up. And then, I've always been a creator. I've done the model thing, I've done the acting thing. But really, at the heart of everything I do is consultancy. I help small businesses launch, grow, and scale, and now exit, which has been really fun to help some brands fundraise, go into retail, do lots of really cool things. So I'm familiar with some of the amazing women up here, and I'm really excited to see a lot of familiar faces in the room, some of our collective members in here. And if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer. I think we're also going to popcorn around if anyone has any questions throughout. I know some of you came with questions. So we'll definitely make sure to integrate that into the conversation. Thanks.
Hi there, my name is Lanza. I am the founder of a women's group called, sorry, can you guys hear me? Yeah, there you go. Hi there, my name is Liz Lanza. I am the founder of a women's group called Pro Society, which is a community-based group in San Francisco for female entrepreneurs to get connected to resources like funding and just get the support they need. I also am a model in the Bay Area. I'm the face of an agency called the MBT, which does commercial, print, all around the Bay Area. So I've been in the creative space for quite some time as well. And I'm honestly just really passionate about helping women that are in the creative space, in the entrepreneurial space, to get the support they need and to be connected with the resources that they need. So that's me. Oh yeah, I did.
Hi, I'm Shockley. Thank you for allowing me to be here and speaking today. I am a producer and a member of the Producers Guild of America. I own and I co-own and executive produce for Lotus Wine Films. I live in the Bay Area now and also on the East Coast. I've been doing this for a very long time and have worked with Screen Actors Guild in different capacities, working with independent producers and traveling around nationally to different locations where sets, where things are being shot. I've worked with major studios, filmmakers, and television shows, and et cetera, et cetera. It goes on. And I'm really happy to be here. One more thing I want to add, because I think this is related to you. I worked with the San Francisco Film Commission, the Friends of, and we were a funding arm. So I worked with local legislators to support the film incentive. And I basically represent traditional media today.
Thank you. Fiona, California State Treasurer. I started out working in the real estate tax area with one of the big 8 accounting firms. Then after 5 years, quit and started my own practice and became president of a small business association. So that's how I got involved in public service is representing women and minority small business owners for more contracting opportunities at the federal, state, local, and the private sectors. Along the way, I am a SAG member also, and so kind of getting back into that, did a cameo in a film. I'm probably gonna be a little bit more of a starring role in a film, because I think it is important, especially when there are themes that are important for us to relate and portray. And I'm gonna try to step into that role in my second chapter kind of thing.
We'll give them all a hand. And I know that we're going to talk a little bit about the tax credit. Do you want to start there?
Yeah. So as many of you know, okay, how many of you are in the movie, television production business? How about music? Okay. Arts, any other type of arts? Okay. All right, so everyone's in the creative economy, yeah. So, California, we are on our 3.0 in terms of the film tax credit. It's $750 million divided over 5 years. But this time, they have really put an emphasis on a couple of things, which I have actually been pushing for, right? First is diversity. Productions must submit plans to expand diversity in hiring and reporting outcomes. So a few years ago, when we passed the 0.2 film tax credits, Mike Gibson and I, we have a companion film tax credit to do just this, to make sure that the people that are on the set, behind the cameras, that they are represented, not just the accountants or the lawyers. That's easy to hit your minority threshold, right? But it's really the creatives that needed to be there. So I'm glad that that is in, this tax credit. Also, career readiness must provide training or internship opportunities, right? How many of us, got to where we are because of an internship or a mentor that really pulled us along? And then the third one is an infrastructure boost, building or renovating sound stages in California. And so we're really trying, we can't compete on the big blockbuster films, but when it comes to independent films, when it comes to television shows, reality shows, especially in the minority realm, the BIPOC industries, that's where I think we really excel, because we all have a story to tell, we all have talents, but we just don't look like the big production studio executives, and therefore we don't get those chances and we don't get the big money. So very happy that California, hopefully, we just signed, I think maybe Laura, you can talk about all the filming that's coming back to California.
Yeah, there was a big article in the New York Times today about how this incentive has brought back films and applications to California in general. And I think it's really wonderful that we made this push. It's really beneficial given what's going on in LA. And I think we've seen increased production where these tax credits and incentives have been. There are additional incentives specific to Oakland or different areas around. There's diversity incentives up here on top of the state level. And I think it's really important for creators to know that they can reach out independently and apply for these things.
Yeah, just as a creator, and as a lot of you guys, I'm speaking more from behind the camera, creator perspective. We are the business, so sometimes we think, oh, an agent is enough, or having a manager is enough, and I think I very quickly learned that you are the entity, you are the business, and you're also doing your own marketing, you're also pushing yourself, so just the fact that you feel seen by those kind of initiatives to kind of help us be a catalyst moving forward, I think is an amazing step in the right direction for sure.
And Fiona, overseeing the financing pipes that unlock capital for the creative companies like bonds and credit enhancement, tax advantage tools, what are some other things that that the audience probably doesn't know, or other things that we can do, or even where to go, simply website, or like just to start filling out these forms, like where are the main resources, and like are there any hacks and maybe tips to like give that could help them streamline that process, or like do they need to know a certain person, or are there certain times that they should apply? Okay, everyone's gonna need cards for everyone, and just any other like tips and tricks.
So during the pandemic, California got $28 billion, and that was based on our population. So every 10 years we do a census, and some people don't understand why we have to answer before someone would come to your door and ask you how many people live in your house, and it feels like an intrusion, but that is the way we get money allocated from the federal government for every person that's counted. That's why so many of us care every 10 years. So we got $28 billion during COVID. How many of you got any money? Zero. See, that's the problem. And so what I did, because our small business owners, you know, those that are working really hard, would hear about these loans or grant opportunities, usually in the news, and then by the time it was on the news, all the money was gone. So I started compiling these resource guides. You have one in front of you, it's blue. And I tried to include everything in there, just a little teaser with QR codes that shows different type of grants, loans, and bonds that could be available to you. And I know it's probably very complicated, but if something jumps out at you, my email is on the front, ask Fiona at treasurer.ca.gov, and Catherine Asprey in my office, that is her one job, is to respond and try to connect you, with the resources to try to answer your question. So lots of programs at the state level, at the federal level as well. One of the programs that we have in my office is a loan loss guarantee program. So for participating lenders, we will guarantee that if you don't pay back your loan, the state will pay back the loan. And so these lenders are really incentivized to get those monies out to small businesses, especially those that don't maybe have great credit. Maybe you didn't file your taxes on time, you still owe taxes, but you still may be eligible for these CalCap for small business programs. We have a lot of grants also that come available. So there is now a website, grants.ca.gov, and that is on the first page. So look out for those, because those are free money. And a lot of the money that gets distributed to the communities does not come with any marketing or PR dollars. And that's why we don't do a good job. We just put it on the website and we expect everyone to know that this program is available with the deadlines, right? So that's why I'm on social media trying to roll out these programs, let people know they're coming, to prepare, to sign up for an email so that you get alerts, and then hopefully when the money is available and ready, you also are available. But during the pandemic, we gave grants to live studios, dance studios, musical performances, people that had to close because of COVID. How many of you heard about those? After the fact, right? Yes, and so squeaky wheel does get the grease in government. The more that you scream, the more the money will come. So we heard from small businesses, especially restaurants, that they did not get a lot of relief or enough relief. And so then we rolled out another set of grants for restaurant owners, for example. So if some of you are still struggling, still from the pandemic, or you see that there is a missing gap that you can't access, like a line of credit, we now have established a line of credit for small businesses, because we know that the banks, major financial institutions, are not really doing that.
Wow. Do they need to have a certain type of entity set up, like an LLC or something like that?
Well, yes. If you haven't set up anything, please go see your small business development centers. These are free centers around California. You go on the website, put in your zip code, it'll give you the one closest to you, and they have counselors who are gonna provide free services. These services are provided by the U.S. Small Business Administration as well as the state of California. So even if you don't know what type of entity, go in and see one of these counselors, Anya, and say, hey, I'm thinking about this company, our company, how should we how should we set that up? And then they can actually walk you through it, help you with a marketing plan, a business plan, a finance plan, help you, fill out your applications to various grants and loan programs as well. Small business development centers.
I'd like to know what the audience would like to know.
Should I run?
I got it.
Hello, my name is Darla. I have two questions. One for the California tax credit, no tax credit. Even though you have all this money, it's still done on a lottery system. So we still don't have a chance. And now everybody has to go to Louisiana or Atlanta to do this tax credit because California still has a lottery. Everybody in their mom from all over the world wants to shoot here in California. So that makes it hard on us. It should be limited to some of the funds should be limited to California residents and we pay taxes here. Number two, I was approved for that California tax loan, guarantee loan, but there was no banks that was going to do with the film industry. So how do you use all that too? Those are the questions.
Right. So, we started a coalition, a creative economy coalition recently to hear exactly from all of you what it is that we're missing, right? Like the film tax credit, we're not really prioritizing people who have lived here maybe many, many years, paid taxes here, right? So that's a good point. Nobody's really ever brought that up before. And then also, yes, you're doing a film, you need money for a film, you don't really have collateral. Maybe you have a little collateral. We do have a collateral support program that could help maybe bridge that gap, but it is not easy if you have nothing to start with, right? So you can work with certain lenders, you can, lots of different programs, U.S. Small Business Administration, the Women's Business Center, lots of, other specialty groups and organizations who can maybe help you, target the money so that you can qualify for it. Does that make sense? It's not easy for the creative space. That's why we're trying to do a little bit more. That's why we're up here.
We have some other questions, but I just want to make sure that Lori, we're able to make sure that we're talking about some of the things that you're going to be chatting, which is like the S&P Capital and then CalCap, credit boxes tailored for production, companies, post-house, and game startups, because I know there are some people here from on that side. So can you just talk a little bit about like the policy and finance part?
Okay, I don't think I will address those right now.
Okay.
But, that's not my expertise. I'm an executive producer and I can deal with things on a different level.
Why don't you tell us some of your issues on that as executive producer besides money?
That's, this industry is tough. It's for independent producers and, studios have a lockdown. Hollywood has a lockdown. Nobody wants you to be part of the club. And it's always been that way. And, I've worked with the studios in my career. I've also worked independently. I think, there's tried and true ways of getting money, essentially. And you can get a bank loan if you're lucky enough. You can bother your friends and family. You can sell your IP, your script, your product to a studio or a production company. You can crowdfund, but other than these state and federal programs, there isn't really some magic way to get money. This is really encouraging because, we are not, the arts aren't as supported as they used to be, clearly. So we're going in the wrong direction right now, federally. So it's really encouraging that California, which is the seat of so many creatives, Hollywood, tech, of course. So we have think tanks here. We have smart people, we have creative people. And I think that the best thing to do is community, which is is exactly what you all are doing. Because throughout my career, the best thing I've done is come to events like this, and you meet somebody. It's always serendipity, and the right person at the right time shows up all the time. And I think part of being a creative is having the tenacity to just keep going. And I think honestly, sometimes that really separates, we all are talented in some capacity, and I think the tenacity can really, and just hanging in there as long as you can really make the difference. I don't have a magic answer. It's been the same structure for a very long time, and I think, what I think you all are trying to do here is create a direct connection between the money that lives in Silicon Valley and Hollywood. So I think that's, we're California, let's do that. Why not? So that's my answer.
Just to talk a little bit on the community portion, because that's kind of my main field of expertise, or I wouldn't say expertise, sitting next to these two ladies. But really, as a creative in the Bay Area that's been doing it for about 5 years, I can attest to the power of community. I was a creative that was also like working 2 jobs, so I understand that it can sometimes feel very overwhelming, the amount of resources that are handed to you. And so that was a big reason why I wanted to create McClure Society in the first place, to really bring it down to a level that felt palatable. And also just felt very authentic in women supporting women, and of course the amazing men that are our allies. But I will say one thing the Bay Area does really, really well is community. They do well at supporting like community groups, and I just feel like being able to mirror what Ms. Ma is saying and what the community groups to really bridge that gap, and I'm hoping that's what we're here to do, is maybe just bridge that gap between community and creativity.
Can we take the other questions now? Okay. Okay, so, well, let's keep going. I guess we are going to wait until the end for them.
I wanted to address something about Oakland specifically.
Sure, because I think Oakland is uniquely poised to become a hub of functioning, money-generating creativity. Having worked in San Francisco, they are, they had their heyday when Robin Williams was around, and then Don Johnson, and really what happens with San Francisco specifically is it gets dictated by top talent that wants to work there. It's a very, very difficult place to shoot in. It's very expensive. And now with drones and technology and green screen, we can do plate shots. But Oakland specifically has the land it's got sound stages. It's got the talent, because we've built across the Bay Area different levels of a talent pool. It's not shallow at all. So when you have one team working on something, you've got another team at the ready. And I think I'm not from here, but where I sit from what I'm looking at, I think there's a lot of opportunity here. And I think that, again, matching with all these new programs that are out there, I think it's on the upswing. It's a really positive move. Yeah.
So I have a woman, a friend, who's a philanthropist, and she sets aside a certain amount of money to fund women writers, Asian women writers, and helps them funds them to write, and then the short film, because they are in short films, so at least they have something that they can show. Because these long features takes a long time, it takes a lot of money, but if you can do a short, enter into some festivals, start winning the awards, and whatever those leaves are, then you can start building, because it is really tough, right, as women, because they'll be like, okay, well, what's your story about? And then some people get it, some people don't get it, but I just think everyone has an idea and a story, but we just don't have the funding because everybody's focused on the bottom line. How are we gonna make money? How are we gonna return our investment? We want 12% return on investment. These films don't make money. They lose money. You're like going out of pocket, right? So I think there has to be a shift that if we are going to advance this industry, women filmmakers, women writers, or minorities, whatever it is, Oakland, local Bay Area, we just have to take the profit out of it and find other ways to have that satisfaction and that happiness and to show something on the film that's going to be impactful for the next generation, especially where they're not really watching things that are really creative and, thought-provoking these days. I don't know.
I completely concur with that, and as we know, there's a lot of emphasis on eyeballs and short films, and anytime you can put yourself out there, Hollywood does look at that, which is not always the best thing, but it's true. And I think, as someone who supports women filmmakers, I think any group of people who really want to showcase their environment, make a film about that, invest in that, find people in your community who want to invest in that way.
And not necessarily gonna make money.
No, not always. And that's the thing, it's finding the people that believe in art too, and believe in creation. Because the ROI isn't always there.
Yeah, it's like writing a book.
Yeah.
You don't write a book to make money. Okay, so are there any other, can we do the? Yeah, okay, I'll ask a question. Yeah. Hi, my name is Prima. I'm a small business owner myself. And first of all, thank you so much for the great panel. I totally agree with having creatives being more on the inspirational end, opposed to being profit-driven, because of a movie that flopped, I'm a business owner today. So I guess I'm a testament to what you're saying. Like, creativity really does create a ripple effect and does stimulate our economy later on. So that being said, being a small business owner, it's great to know that we have all these resources at our hand. I've dabbled in it a little bit, specifically like government grants, but there's a lot of forms and a lot of stuff. Is there any resource that could kind of be a liaison that could help us through? Like, I know there's SCORE mentorship. They don't seem super knowledgeable about it. So, what we could do?
Yeah, so that's why I was saying these small business development centers should be the best resource for you. These are other small businesses, small business owners who are in the business of, trying to connect, trying to grow your business, right? So I would say definitely start there. And then there's a bunch of, I don't have it, but there's like a women's resource, and that is also, part of the Small Business Administration. So, other like Latinos, African Americans, they all have their own organizations that they are trying to connect their people. And I would say, just go check it out, go to their events, network, and hopefully things will work. But yes, a lot of these forms are really difficult and you're gonna give up because you're like, oh, I didn't save it. And then the whole thing, the whole application, right, disappeared. So you kind of have to know these tricks of the trade as well. But, hopefully, find a mentor maybe that can help you and lead you and show you how they did it.
Thank you.
More questions? Simon?
Yeah.
Hi, well, thanks so much for doing this. My name is Chris Rojas. I actually am an entrepreneur, and I actually own a magazine called Shockley. Now, my question is this: for businesses that are starting, there is a application that's going on. What are things you guys look for that can maybe help with the Google process? Like, obviously, the website, but like, should they be in business a certain amount of time? Have a certain amount of money into the bank? Already have employees set up? Like, how much of the business should they be involved in before they actually apply? Because I know there is like limitations. So my question is like, what can we do to help everybody set up for success before they actually do the approval process to make sure that they get those, signed approvals? That's the way to look for it.
Yeah, so not all banks are the same. Not all community banks, credit unions, and CDFIs. You guys know what a CDFI is? Community District Financial Institution. Those are the ones, like we gave a bunch of grants to local CDFIs so that they can seed fund local small businesses that are just starting. Because those are the people that really need it the most. So you're not gonna knock on Wells Fargo's door, they're never gonna give you any money, right? So you have to kind of start smaller at the local level. And then each bank has a little different, different niche, right? They're trying to compete against each other, but they don't wanna compete in the same lane all the time. So you have to figure out which banks or financial institutions are gonna fund industries like yourself. Because they're out there, but it's just, they don't maybe advertise, so you maybe have to Google a little bit, or go down to your bank and say, hey, I'm looking for a small business loan. Is this a possibility? And they may say, oh, you need this amount of assets or this many taxes, filed. Everyone is a little different, so there's not one size fits all.
Great question. Thank you. I'm Amina. I'm a writer, director, producer from Australia. I moved here from LA, where I was based for several years. Pretty recently, I've moved to the Bay Area. I guess I'm sort of curious. I'm still getting to know the lay of the land, and I didn't even know that there were science stages in Oakland, so that's good to hear. Because my question, I guess, is you were talking about with the new tax incentives that more productions are going to come to California. I see on the production listing all the time, especially now that more productions are coming to LA, but not here. And I'm wondering if there are plans to build more sound stages here, or if there are plans to attract more productions to the Bay Area.
Yeah, so normally when Willie Brown was the mayor of San Francisco for 8 years, he loved filming. And that's how I got my SAG card, because they were always filming in San Francisco. We had sound stages on Treasure Island. And then after Mayor Brown left, everything kind of shut down. So it really is dependent on your local, elected officials. Mayor Lee, Barbara Lee wants to have more filming. Your city council, go lobby them. Perhaps they can create more incentives for you to film. I didn't even know that you had film studios or film stages here in Oakland, but that's a great place to start, right? And then having them put a little money in it, create those incentives, have people start, coming, and kind of like this workspace, right? You're all coming here because you're all trying to exchange information, network. That's what should be also done at these sound stages.
And I think to add to that, one of the struggles is, so there's a zone and there's a 5% incentive bump outside the zone, but the zone is only 30 miles. So up here in Northern California, if they can just go 30 miles outside of LA to get that bump, they're not necessarily going to come up here. And I think, and that is about, lobbying folks that live, your local government, et cetera. I think it's a struggle. That's always been a struggle, and it will continue to be. And I think I know part of the pushback comes from unions. There's a lot of people in LA. There's a lot of work there, and I think it's sort of a collective, and it's a slow moving animal. Frankly, I don't think there is one easy solution, but I do know that there is an extra percentage if you get out of there. And again, I think you have to build the infrastructure, right? You have talent, you have sound stages, but what comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah. And then let your city council and your mayor know what it is that you're doing, what you're trying to achieve, what you could use help with it, right? Because they don't know, they can't read your mind, they're not in that business. And then if all of you start going to city council meetings and saying, hey, we want more money to rebuild this soundstage to the state of the art, we need blah, blah, blah. And these days, public-private partnerships has to be part of the solution. Government does not have enough money to do everything that we need, so the private sector should, come up with good solutions too. Say, hey, we're willing to step in, but we want a part or a share, because that's what the private sector does. And then, that's also a way to think a little creatively outside the box.
And I just want to add too, federally, there is an incentive, it's called Section 181, I don't know if you're all familiar with that, and that's an incentive for investors because it tax breaks for folks who invest in independent film. And that is going to expire at the end of this year, and I know they're pushing to extend that federally. So that's a pitch you can make to investors. What it comes down to is creators need to be business people too, I think, in this world, in this economy. And not everybody wants to be a business person.
Hi, my name's Cassandra. I work for Dairy Creative, which is a nonprofit here in the area, and we serve underserved youth through arts, and we hire creatives as teaching artists, and we put them through 1099. With Prop 28, getting the additional increase, do you see that decreasing in the coming years? That might make it harder for schools to contract organizations like us that solely hire creatives?
Yeah, so when the budget is doing well, like during COVID, the first year of COVID, we had a $46 billion surplus. The second year of COVID, we had a $96 billion surplus, okay? That's because everyone was staying here, they were still IPOs, people were still buying and selling homes and everything. And so they funded a lot more. They funded, more programs to the schools, obviously. K through 14 is 50% of our general fund budget at the state. So when we have more money, we have more money to give to the schools. And then a lot of it went to after school programs, enrichment programs, right? Programs that are not normally taught. And then when the budget is not doing very well, they start taking those monies away. So it's really incumbent on you to let your elected official know how many students you're serving. Bring them to the city hall meetings, tell them, hey, but for this program, I may be on the street or I may be doing other things that aren't good for me, right? Those are the stories that tell the legislators, the policymakers, the budget people, where they should prioritize. If they're gonna have to cut, they're gonna say, we're gonna cut all these programs, and if nobody comes to defend it, then they're gonna cut it. So you also have to be aware of what is being proposed, and especially what's being proposed to cut. So you have to get maybe a little more business savvy, a little more political, right? So that you can go and advocate, because your program is very important, serving a great population, but if nobody knows about it, they're not gonna continue to fund it when times are bad.
My name is May. So I would want to know that, so you mentioned about small business, like small restaurant, or small business, including like small restaurant here, film producer, music business. But I'm like more like startup on AI tech, and then so I'm trying to invest in it for that. So we need like 8 young kids with like CS program. PhD on computer science. So for the AI techs, for the startups, we fundraise. Google was kind of big company with first round of the credits, like $500,000 something. But then right now with high tech industry, do the governments have any kind of budget or any other program or contract or to support like really good like academically those business? It's still like small business too, but it's another direction. So do they have this kind of industries from the support from the government?
Yeah, so number one, the grants portal, grants.ca.gov. Look in that because there's filters. But a lot of these companies, these foundations, they like to fund certain things. And it's usually healthcare, education, food insecurity, social justice. And those are like the four main ones. And then everything else is like not really their focus. So it is really, really hard, the arts, like someone said, Lori maybe, that, the arts doesn't have the same emphasis that, that it's STEM, but it should be STEAM, right? STEA standing for the arts, because it is important. And so that maybe, part of your message is like, we need to support more of the arts. I will give you a couple of other programs. They're not necessarily for education, but they're more for startups. CalC provides grants up to $700,000 in professional development, early stage clean energy entrepreneurs to accelerate California's clean energy goals. Then there's a Cal test bed that's for clean energy entrepreneurs. It expedites your pathway to commercialization through connection to a network of next level partners. So basically setting you up with mentors who can teach you and lead you and help you. And then the iHub 2 AIDS, DEI, focus science and tech firms in designated areas, helping diverse entrepreneurs develop their ideas to local connections and access to advising and training. So really trying to commercialize your product. So there are programs that can help you bring your product to the market, prototypes.
And those are all things, so I think we'll put these like in a doc and send them out.
So they're in my resource guide.
Yeah, the resource guide is, we'll send
It's on my website, so.
Thank you. Leonard, I was just thinking, Lori said about return on investment, and we're talking about the whole commercial aspect of film, television, media. And because it's so challenging for the independent sector, there are examples, particularly in the performing arts, where more than half the budgets come from donations, contributions, etc. We know we have a lot of people in this area who are wealthy. Are there examples of sort of a nonprofit-based media distribution and creation network that's not generated?
Well, that's my husband. He's a lawyer, so I'm not gonna tell you works in the performing arts. We're not gonna answer that. But it's true. Is there, what would be amazing would be if there was a coalition of investors from Silicon Valley specifically that supported the arts.
Yeah. Okay, so with AI, I found, go ask ChatGPT, entrepreneurs who support the arts. It's amazing the things that pop up, and then you're like, whoa, I never heard about it. And then you have to go and chase it down. But, let's use AI, it's here, it's super powerful, it's, figuring out and listening and documenting everything everyone's doing. So I'm sure there's coalitions that are out there that are funding the arts in a more meaningful way.
I heard this one girl say that she'll never use ChatGPT because it uses a bottle of water every time that you put in a search. So I asked my husband, who's an engineer, and he's like, well, yeah, but it's water that circulates. It's not like it's just draining a bottle of water. So I wonder how many people actually think that and will use it. So it's very interesting. But I use it for everything. It's great.
Yeah, it requires a lot of energy, so that's one of our challenges here in California is how are we going to develop more energy? People are developing, battery storage, microgrids, trying to, create different, electricity centers. Because the utilities are just so slow to connect people, it'll take years to connect. So people are being very creative in terms of how they're going to generate energy, but we need to. Every country needs to generate energy, otherwise we are going to lose this AI space.
Absolutely.
Last curious question. So I guess I was wondering, so I'm Canadian and American, so dual citizen, but what is it that makes filmmakers film in Canada? There seems to be this pretty huge movement or some sort of tax incentive that Canada does right that makes some of our New York scenes be filmed in Toronto, my hometown. opposed to here. So is there something we're missing?
Yeah, so it's all about tax incentives. So all the states, we compete with each other. Georgia decided, you know, with who's the big filmmaker? Tyler Perry. Yeah, he's like, I can go to Georgia, I can buy a lot of land, I can, you know, develop center, and they were welcoming him, rolling out the red carpet, right? And then all of a sudden, too many people from the West Coast moved to Georgia. And now the government is like, we don't want all these people here because they're not voting the right way. So now, this is real, this is real. And so now Tyler Perry is going to, I think, New Mexico, right? Or Idaho or something, right? Because they're welcoming him. So that is real. Tax incentives are real. Canada is doing something right. New Zealand, like you look at whatever the movie is, I just watched Mission Impossible, and I'm always interested to see where they're filming. And they're filming because they're giving those tax credits, those incentives, and it's maybe easier to permit, easier to hire people, just easier to film overall. And so some of these bureaucratic hurdles is real also, and California is not the easiest place to do business, right?
Yeah. Got it. Thank you.
But everyone wants to be here.
Hi y'all, first of all, my name is Lisa. Thank you for everyone for coming, and I love this panel. One of my main questions for each and one of y'all is, what do you see the future of storytelling with film, with these AI innovations? How do you see this in the next 10 years?
I'll take that first. Definitely, I know everyone loves this one, but social media. I don't see that being the full trajectory, but when it comes to storytelling in the hands of us as the creators, social media is our friend. The majority of the major jobs that I've gotten have been through e-marketing myself through social media, not through an agent, not through a manager. I think they are a great resource to help you get your foot in the door and help you get a little bit more credibility, which goes a really long way, I feel like, in the creative industry, just to know you have backing. But being able to market yourself and being a storyteller in your own way, whether it's a brand, whether you're the creator, or whether it's a product that you're selling, being able to carve out your niche on your own, I feel like will go a long way. It will help you when you're pitching to people like yourself, so that it's a clear vision when it gets into the right, and when you get in front of the right people.
So in politics, 20 years ago there were, well, maybe 50 years ago, there were like 3 TV stations and 2 newspapers in the town, right? And if you didn't get in them or on the news, then nobody knew who you were. And if you did get into them, it was usually bad news. So for me, social media has been the great equalizer. I can tell my story, my brand, what I care about, what I am promoting. And when those negative stories come out, people can go Google you and they can follow you. If they're following you, and they'll be like, no, that's dirty tricks, or those are lies, or whatever, fake news. But I agree, now with ChatGPT, like, people are gonna look up, hey, what actress, has the most amount of followings for wearing this type of brand, and if she's posting all the time, her name is gonna come up.
Yeah.
So that is also part of your own marketing, is being able to market. And of course, everyone wants to be a TikTok star, right? I'm trying, it's not easy. There's some tricks to being a TikTok star, but but you have to be on all platforms, because most people only look at one platform a day in their spare time, and you may or may not catch their eye.
I'm old school. I like long form storytelling, and I'm a big independent film person. I think in the next 10 years, we're going to see, it is the great equalizer, which is what's so wonderful. Social media is allowing everyone to tell stories, and there's so many different ways of doing it, whether it's on Instagram or it's your brand, and which is amazing because there's so many creators out there. I was reading that exploding in China are the microdramas, which are 90-second snippets that people are watching. And I think the studios are getting involved with those. So that, I think, is the direction that it's going. I also think there's a available space for independent filmmakers. I think all these new tools with AI, beyond doing it at home on your computer, I think there is a way that is going to enhance independent filmmakers who are out in the world shooting too.
I think authenticity is important, right? So that's, what people are looking for is people who are authentic.
I think that's why podcasts are so popular because it's really hard who you are when you're talking for hours. Well, thank you all. Where can we find Jimmy, just so anyone who wants to pull out their phone and find you on social or whatever platform, your website?
Sure, I'm Instagram Shockley. That's my name twice.
I'm on every social media, either Fiona Ma or Fiona Ma CPA.
And I am also on Instagram, at Liz Lanza, and if you want to follow my women's group, it's at Her Society SF.
Cassandra, McClure, thank you guys so much. I know you'll have more questions and we'll be around.
If you didn't get a resource guide, I've got more resource guides as well.
Here's your guy.
Where's the photographer?
Oh, thank you. Can you make me one now?
He's the professional. He takes good pictures. Twain.
On this side, ready? 1, 2, 3. One time, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.